Now, my guess is not many of you have been inside this factory before, and you don't know exactly what they make. They make big tanks and parts for tractors and all sorts of things. This thing I'm standing on is one of the pieces of machinery, a tool that helps them make the various products they make out of various forms of plastic. And as I was taking a tour, Brian was taking me around and showing me the facility. I was reminded once again of the experience I had when I was a boy. You see, when my mom and dad saw that we were getting a little older and we were raised in Detroit, they said, you know, we want you to see the country. And they put us in their car, their Rambler, and some of you remember those, don't you? And we drove across the country. We went from national park to national park. And they were teaching me to fall in love with America. They wanted me to see the oceans and the mountains and the canyons and the rivers and to see this great land. And I did fall in love with America. I love this country. And between the stops at the national parks, Mom would read to us from books about the founding of America. Dad would tell us stories about the founders of the country. One of the books Mom read us from was a book called Men to Match My Mountains. And this was a story about men and women who had helped build this country and taken the risks to start enterprises and grow enterprises and put other people to work. And I was telling that story some months ago, and a person in the audience came up and said, Mitt, did you know that the name of that book, Men to Match My Mountains, was taken from a poem written in the 1800s? I didn't. And then he recited the poem. Unaware that I would use that term, he recited it from his high school days, and I was pretty impressed. And it captured by the poet a vision of what America would be and what kind of people would make America. It goes like this. I've learned the first four lines, even I can do that. And it goes like this. Bring me men to match my mountains. Bring me men to match my plains. Men with empires in their purpose and new eras in their brains. The idea was that the people that would build this country would have empires in their purpose, empires of discovery and pioneering, innovation, construction, development, and that by virtue of these men and women with empires in their purpose, that we would change the world. We'd bring in new eras. And that's been true. I understand that a fellow named Dick Rozak, 1970, he knew that we're making big tanks and big parts out of plastic, and people would lay these things up on molds by hand. And he saw new technology, a rotary technology. He said, I bet I could apply that to making those kind of parts, and built a business now with, can I say what the revenues are above, or is that confidential? Revenues today, over $100 million. How many employees? 800 employees. It's a great thing. A pioneer, an innovator, someone who had an idea and built an industry and employs 800 people, in part because of that innovation. It's been the history of our country from the very beginning. The great innovation, I think, was from the founders themselves, who said the king was not sovereign, the citizen was sovereign, and the king was the servant. The government would be the servant. This would be a land where the people were sovereign. That changed the world. That concept continues to change the world, brought a new era to the world that continues. I read a book over the summertime called At Home by Bill Bryson. In there he talks about the World's Fair in 1850 in London. They asked the nations of the world to send displays of their various crafts and arts and what they'd accomplished. America sent these huge crates of wood. They arrived in London. They took them to the place called the Crystal Palace, where they unpacked them, and inside was a McCormick Reaper. And the McCormick Reaper, it said in the box, would replace the work of 40 men. 40 people would be replaced by one machine. And by virtue of that, the world was able to be fed. People could leave the farms and come into the cities and bring in the industrial age. American innovation had brought in a new era. And then, of course, the turn of the century with the industrial age itself and the assembly lines of Henry Ford. The new economy today, computers, software, the internet, tweets. It's just unbelievable how America changes the world and brings in new eras because of men and women with innovation and pioneering in their brains. I happen to think our president doesn't get that. I think people in Washington think that it's government that makes us strong. It is not government that makes America the nation we are. It's free people pursuing their dreams that make America great. The president said he wants to fundamentally transform America. I kind of like America. I'm not looking for it to be fundamentally transformed into something else. I don't want it to become like Europe. I don't want big government with bigger and bigger taxes and bigger debt overwhelming our people. I don't want a government that's going to be like Greece or like Italy that puts at the peril of the future on its excesses in spending and borrowing. I want America to be more like America, if you will. I love the songs of patriotism we have. Oh, beautiful for patriots. Oh, here we go. How beautiful for spacious skies. There we go. I know. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plains. Did I get that about right? I hope so. There are other verses I like, and I'll mention one. Of course, oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife. Our soldiers. How many veterans do we have in the room here? Thank you for your service. Thank you. Thank you. There's another verse. It says, oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years. The idea is that the dreams of the patriots, of the founders, were not just temporary ideas, but they were dreams that would extend into the future, into our time and beyond. I'm not looking to transform America into something European. I'm looking to restore the dreams of patriots. I'm looking to restore those elements that made America a unique nation with the highest standard of living in the world, and with freedom. The founders, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, said that the Creator had endowed us with certain rights, certain unalienable rights. Not government didn't give us those, the Creator did. Among them, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We would be free in this country to pursue happiness as we chose. We are a nation of opportunity. That's what pursuing happiness means, an opportunity nation. In this nation, by virtue of our education, our hard work, our willingness to take risk, to pioneer, to innovate, empires in our purpose, those things combined would create an opportunity land that would be the most prosperous in the history of the earth, the greatest nation on the planet. But there are others who would like to change us from an opportunity society. I think the president wants us to become more of an entitlement society, where government takes from some people and gives to others. In the name of creating more equality, the president would instead, I'm afraid, create more poverty, because no entitlement nation has ever succeeded economically. The magic of America was the vision of the founders, to give us freedom, political freedom, economic freedom, opportunity, the ability to pursue our dreams, to have empires in our purpose, and to have those individuals who have those visions lift the rest of us, as has been done right here. I love this country, and I'm concerned that what we have right now is not just a battle to replace the president, but a battle for the soul of America. Are we going to remain a great nation that believes in opportunity and freedom and small government and personal liberty, or are we instead going to believe in a massive, overpowering, intrusive government that takes more and more from the people and insists that it knows better than free people how to live our lives? That's the choice that we have. And I believe the American people are going to do something that President Obama isn't going to like. I think they're going to send him back to the private sector where he finally deserves to go. Now, I have an audience that's captured tonight, and I want to tell you one of the reasons I'm so optimistic about the future. We still have that passion. We're still an opportunity nation, a free nation. We love this country. We're patriotic. And I have seen that throughout my life, but one place I saw our patriotism on display that touched me in a remarkable way was during the Olympics of 2002, where I got the chance to help organize those games. It was at the closing ceremonies, and the Vice President, Dick Cheney, asked me to choose one American athlete to come sit with him to represent all the American athletes. I chose Derek Parra. Derek's about 5'4", Hispanic American, born in Los Angeles, a rollerblader. And his friend said to him, Derek, you'll never get an Olympic medal in rollerblading because there's no rollerblading in the Olympics. So he tried ice skating. Turns out he was pretty good. And he skated his heart out, trained and trained and trained, and ultimately beat these big guys from Minnesota and Michigan and Wisconsin, and became a member of the U.S. speed skating team. Came out to Salt Lake, skated his heart out there, won a silver medal, then a gold medal. Fastest man in the world on skates, Derek Parra. Can you imagine being the best at anything in the entire world? And so I invited him to come in and sit with the vice president at the closing ceremonies. As he was coming into the box, I said, Derek, what was the most meaningful experience in your Olympics? And it wasn't the silver medal, and it wasn't the gold medal. He said, Mitt, it was being honored to carry in the flag that had flown above the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001, into the opening ceremonies, that American flag. The flag's about 8 feet by 12 feet. It's badly torn and burned. And Derek was one of the 8 U.S. athletes chosen to carry it in. You can't put it up on a flagpole because it's too badly damaged. And he said, we expected when the announcer announced that the flag was coming in, that the crowd would burst into cheers, but instead, total silence, complete reverence. And he said, so we carried the flag and stopped in front of the choir, and they began performing the national anthem. And he said, it was hard holding on to my emotions while I was holding that flag, and they were singing those words. And then he said, the choir did something we didn't expect. I knew what was coming, because I was the guy in charge of the Olympics. I got to choose the version of the national anthem they were singing. And I chose one from the 1930s, arranged by Robert Shaw, where you repeat the last line. And the second time through, the sopranos go up an octave, and the orchestration is much greater. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. And he said, Mitt, as they sang it this second time, a gust of wind blew in the flag and lifted it in our hands. And he said, for me, it was as if the men and women who died to protect American liberty had just blown in that flag. And he said, the tears began to roll down my face. And as he told me that story, the tears welled in my eyes as well. We're a patriotic people. When called upon to sacrifice for America and preserve American greatness, we have, we do, and we will. I love this country. I'm convinced that given the capacity of the American people and our patriotism, that if we have leaders that'll tell the truth and live with integrity and who know how to lead, who understand our economy and what makes America unique, that if those leaders will draw on the patriotism of the American people, we'll overcome our challenges. And I intend to be one of those leaders with your help. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure. All right, Governor.
Thank
Off
you.
to Waterloo.
Hi, I'm
how are you?
Holly. I'm
Holly.
wondering, I don't think that the market can value everything. It doesn't value the priceless or the invaluable.
You know, I write about that in my book, actually, about the things that the market can't value fully. So take a look at it.
It's
We gotta get to Waterloo.
quantitative, and we need
It's-
qualitative
I agree.
policies.
It's in his book.
I agree. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.